new edition of the Patriots Beat podcast here on the CLNS Media Podcast Network and on Patriots Press Pass. Evan Lazar here, joined as always by Alex Barth. Mock Draft 4.0. We're getting into the thick of it now. We've done 3 of these already. Alex and I have posted those up on Twitter if you want to go back and find our old mock drafts. But we got 4.0 here today. We're going to go 7 rounds through the entire draft as we were the Patriots, as we're in the Bill Belichick chair in the Patriots draft room. And not much, I would say, has changed from a rumors or a draft standpoint. No trade ups by any teams yet or anything like that since we did it last week. So we can sort of get right into this. But we have seen. Yep.
I was just gonna say that maybe this is where you're going. The big change is we've learned of quite a few pre-draft meetings this week.
Yes.
So that is kind of the new. We want there to be some sort of new angle to all of these drafts. I would say that's this draft is. We know they met with guys like John Mechie. We know some later round guys, right? Derek King, Josh Thompson, who's the corner from Arizona State that they met with. I really like Chase something.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. And of course, now the name has completely left my mind
Lucas.
too. Chase Lucas. There you go.
We're off to a flying start. Yeah.
Flying start. Both of us just blank completely on a prospect's name. That's how you know we've done our homework.
That's
right?
how you know we're ready.
Yeah. Anyways, but along with the visits, which I think is a really good point, we've also seen some of the big J reporters release some more mock drafts, guys like Mel Kiper and Todd McShay and Dane Brugler. And as we start to see what the scuttlebutt is around the league about what the first round is going to end up shaking out, I think the one takeaway that you have is that there's pretty much no consensus about this draft, especially at the top. I think most people would be surprised if Aiden Hutchinson's not the top pick in the draft. But once you get past Hutchinson and the Jaguars at 1, you could see Evan Neal. You could see Ike Ekwonu from North Carolina State. You could see Trayvon Walker has gotten a ton of buzz as a top 5, top 3 pick. And it does really feel like this is turning into a flavor draft. And although this doesn't necessarily impact the Patriots directly in the top 5, indirectly, if all these things start happening and some surprises happen, right? If some guys go higher than expected, lower than expected, that clearly shakes up the way the rest of the board shakes out. And it will be really interesting to see also where the quarterbacks go, if any quarterbacks go before the Patriots pick at 21. Malik Willis is a pretty good bet at this point, I think, to go in the top 20, maybe even the top 10. But Kenny Pickett, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be a top 20 pick. I don't know if anybody else besides Willis is going to make it there. So this is a flavor draft. It's really what your personal preferences are. Like if you are, I see in the chat people already talking about Jordan Davis. Some people love Jordan Davis as IDL1. Some people like Devontae Wyatt, his teammate, as IDL1, right? It really is personal preference, what you're feeling, what your priorities are, what your scheme is, as if you're looking for teams in the NFL, culture fits, those types of things I think are going to be really, really important in a draft like this where there's probably better depth than there is top-end talent. I think that there's a lot of guys stacked in a sequence in the first round that you can make an argument are all kind of equal across the board. And now it's going to be really a lot about how these guys interviewed, how these guys get talked about by their former coaches and teammates and behind the scenes, and just how they fit into the schemes that they're getting drafted in, more so than saying like last 3 quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3, right? Because they're all great, premier talents and they go right off the really fun draft for that reason, though. I feel like anything could happen. Like nothing would really surprise me at this point with this draft. And I'm excited to see how this all shakes out because this is really, like I said, this is flavor. This is what your preference is more than it is, oh, this guy is significantly better as a prospect than this guy. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, this is a draft for the draft nerds. This is one for people like us where knowing 200 different players, it's going to matter. So,
right.
That's I want to get into this. I'm excited now. You got me fired
Let's get into it.
You got me.
All right. So we pull up the board here. We do this pretty standard every time, Alex. You're better at explaining this than me. Go ahead.
Yeah, so no, I just one change from how we normally do it. I'm actually
Yes.
going to slow it down.
Yeah.
I don't know that we're going to trade up. You know, the Patriots really, it doesn't make a ton of sense for them to trade up this year for a number of reasons. The way the board is stacked, the assets, the positions they need, a lot of it. But let's just see. I just want to see, let's say Jordan Davis, Derek Stingley, Kyle Hamilton starts falling in this specific simulation. Maybe we have some fun and we look at it. So normally we just kind of zoom right to 21 for this one. And I'm not saying we're definitely going to trade up.
Yeah.
I just want to see what happens, if that works for you.
Yeah, I also would like to just briefly touch on some of the players that do go off the board a little bit earlier. It's
Okay.
always good to kind of see how it's going to shake out.
Well, let's get this going then here. So we got Hutchinson, Hamilton, Kyle Hamilton going second. So I'm going to let it get to 10 and then
All guys that we expect to go this high, right? Nobody really. So Olave going 10 is probably the first surprise, I guess, if you want to call it that.
Kyle Hamilton going second is a bit extreme. Some people have him falling into the 20s. Yeah. I think that's a bit much. He should be a top 50 pick. But I think between 10 and 15 is his sweet spot.
I guess if you're Detroit, you're thinking he's arguably the best pure prospect in the entire draft. And you're not one of those teams that's picking like we have a hole here, we have a hole there, right? You're just trying to stack talent on talent at this point and build out the roster. I get this is just one simulation. I think you could just as easily put Drake London's name next to the Jets there at 10 as Chris Olave went here. They're going to take a wide receiver at that spot. It's just a matter of which wide receiver they prefer. Most mock drafters think that they prefer Drake London. That's kind of been the consensus there. But going Olave here is interesting, means that he's certainly not falling to 21 to the Patriots in this one.
Although that's the right pick. I think Olave there, I think Olave's second or third best receiver in this class. So
yeah,
Washington could go a couple different ways, right? Because this is a pick I think could move. They traded for Carson Wentz. They don't necessarily need the quarterback. Is this a spot we'd want to trade up? Now, it would be expensive, but this is probably how if we want Jordan Davis, if we want Jameson Williams, this is probably how we'd have to do it.
Yeah, we heard that Chris Mortensen report today that he knows teams that are thinking about Jameson Williams in the top 10. And we've been talking about this a lot on the show, not just with the mock drafts, but just in general, that if Jameson Williams doesn't tear his ACL, he's a top 10 lock, right? He's going in the top 10 in every draft, every single year, if he's healthy. The injury does knock him down a little bit. But I think what we've seen more and more with teams, modern medicine, ACL surgeries being essentially perfected to the point that recovery is much faster than it's ever been and much more precise than it's ever been. I don't think it's as big of a risk anymore as it was, let's say, 15, 20 years ago to take a guy that tore his ACL. It just doesn't feel like as big of a hurdle anymore. So I think right in that 5 to 10 range is where Jameson Williams becomes a real conversation for all these teams.
So the question is, do we want to trade up this far? According to the trade chart, we could, 21, 54 and one of the fifths would do it, or 21 in a future first.
Right. Now, I don't think it's necessary. Go ahead.
No, I would agree. I think that, like we talked about, this class is so deep that we want to be adding top 100 picks. We don't want to be subtracting them. So I just don't see. Yeah, I don't see the big gap in talent here to go up and get a guy. I mean, I love Jordan Davis as much as everybody else, but is he really a player that you need to give up a future first-round pick to trade up to get, right? I don't know if he's really on that level. I think the only time that I would ever sign off on making that type of trade is if you're trading up to get a quarterback. And this is not a quarterback draft for the Patriots, obviously, so. Yeah, I mean, we're moving up 10 spots. We're moving up extreme. The only reason I pointed out is you could argue Minnesota might move. I don't think Houston's moving down. And maybe some of these teams will move up and it changes come draft night. But I don't think Houston's moving down. I don't think Baltimore is moving down. I don't think Philly's moving down. I don't think New Orleans is moving down.
Yeah, Philly and New Orleans made that trade on purpose. Right. They're sticking where they're picking right now.
They're going up if anywhere.
Yeah, New Orleans could move up for a quarterback. They almost moved up for Mac Jones last year. So if they really like Malik Willis, they could be moving up again for a quarterback.
But they're not moving down. So the reason I point this out is when you get to this point here, where are the Patriots' options to trade up? I would say 11 or 12, but those are extreme jumps.
Yes.
The only other team I think maybe looks to move back is the Chargers at 17. I could see it. Their roster's pretty set. They just might want to consolidate picks,
Right. I think the biggest problem with the Chargers is that their needs and the Patriots' needs line up pretty nicely in terms of what the prospects that they might be going after. Like Jordan Davis makes sense for the Chargers. A wide receiver makes sense for the Chargers. One of the corners makes sense for the Chargers, just like the Patriots. So would they really give up that pick to the Patriots, knowing that the Patriots are probably going to take one of the guys that was at the top of their own board? That's the tough part about that marriage. We talked about the Eagles and the Saints probably not moving down. So really you're going up in the 11 through 14 range. If you really want to trade up, that's really the only way that you're going to have to jump the Chargers, I think. I don't think you can trade with them. I think you have to jump.
Okay. So basically what we've learned here from this little experiment, I'm glad we did this.
Yes.
Super unlikely. I don't want to say unlikely, super difficult for the Patriots to trade up this year. Very, very difficult for the Patriots to move up, or it'd be very expensive, one or the other. So I just want to see what happens at 17. Maybe we can figure out a way to justify something. Jordan Davis still on the board. Okay, so Jordan Davis is still here.
Yeah.
We know the idiot math coach doesn't care about the run.
That's not true. Stop it.
They were 29th against the run last year.
Yeah, no, they were terrible against the run last year, which is why Jordan Davis makes so much sense for them with this pick.
Do they care?
I think that they care to the point that they know that their scheme, and maybe they prefer somebody like Devontae Wyatt, who's a little bit more of a pass rusher than Jordan Davis is. But I think they know with their scheme, with the way they want to play defense, which is a lot of that too high zone structures, right? They like to play quarters. They like to play buzz, where they start too high and then rotate the safety into the box. They want to play that scheme. They have to have a good defensive line. That's what made the Rams defense go, is the fact that they have Aaron Donald on the line of scrimmage to kind of build everything out from there. They got Bosa. He's a great player, but he wasn't good enough last year to be able to play the style of defense that Staley wants to play. I would really be surprised if this is not a defensive lineman if Jordan Davis is still there at 17. I just think that pick makes so much sense. And I'd also say that the Eagles could probably take Jordan Davis as well at 18 if he doesn't go 17 to the Chargers.
So we're talking about the board as it is right now. Jordan Davis is still there. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. There's really Davis, Williams, I think maybe Stingley if he fell, or the three guys I was looking at trading up for.
Yes.
You don't think it's realistic here?
I think Stingley could fall a little bit in this draft. I think it's crazy, but like I said at the beginning of the show, this is one of those drafts where it's kind of a flavored draft. It's what you prefer. And some teams I think might prefer guys that are a little bit more well-rounded in terms of their tape last year, right? That had better tape, that were solid, that aren't coming off injuries, things like that. So we could see Stingley fall a little bit. But he's already gone in this one, right?
Right. So this is what I'm trying to say. Here we are. Chargers are on the board at 17. They're fielding calls. They're just calling around. They're doing their due diligence. Jordan Davis is still there. On the trade chart, I want to make sure I have this number right. I do. This works.
Okay.
This is a deal. So the two questions are, would the Patriots do this? And do you think the Chargers would do it?
No and no.
They're not doing it. So that's the answer.
I just have a tough time thinking that the Chargers are going to trade back with a team that's going to take a player at a position of need for them. So if the Patriots are trading up here and we're trading up to draft Jordan Davis, well, now the Chargers don't get Jordan Davis, right? So now they have to move down the line. Now maybe they're thinking corner with this pick. So they're thinking of somebody like Andrew Booth Jr. or Trent McDuffie or someone along those lines. And I think that player could get to them at 21 instead. But I have a tough time imagining the Chargers giving the Patriots a player that would really help them out. That would really
What if we add N'Keal Harry to the deal? All right, we're not doing it. I did laugh one time, Evan. Laugh one time.
Oh, you were joking.
You were joking? Yes, I was joking. Yes.
Okay. All right.
No, we're going to trade N'Keal Harry for Jordan Davis straight up. All right. So the Chargers hung up on us. The other three teams in front of us aren't taking calls. So here we go. And wow.
So Jordan Davis made it to us.
Jordan Davis falls to 21.
I mean,
so we do have that rule that if the board is just not working, we respect it.
We respect the process, right?
Is that what this is?
It's tough because could this happen? I think there is like a 5% chance that this could happen, right? I just the board though. I think the only big surprise here was Trevor Penning at 17 to the Chargers.
Yeah,
they just took Rashawn Slater last year with their first pick. That means that they're looking at Penning, and I know that maybe this is too advanced for the simulator, and it's not thinking this complex, but they're taking Penning to play right tackle. So they're taking
Slater over.
He's a left tackle. He's so good. He was easily could have been offensive rookie of the year if Jamar Chase doesn't have the year that he has. Right, he was right up there. I know linemen don't really get votes for that type of stuff, but he was right there. Some of the best rookie tape of any player last year.
I don't think I'm touching it. Here's the other thing too. Like the board doesn't do trades, right? But Dallas is sitting down here at 24. Their offensive line is a mess. Maybe that's really Dallas, right? Maybe Dallas moved up there to make the pick, severely overpaid. So
Penning does have top 20 traits, right? He's got the size, he's got the length, he's got the mauling, traits about him, capabilities. I think that we talked to Brandon Thorne about this on Tuesday. He's a little raw for the top 20, but he's got so many of those measurable boxes checked: size, length, play strength, elite combine tester. I guess I could see it. I think here for the Patriots, if we don't go Jordan Davis and just he's clearly the best player. We clearly would if this is the way that it actually shakes out in 2 weeks. It just is the best interest of the process. Like, is this realistic? I don't know. I think if I look at the rest of this board, we took Andrew Booth Jr. last time, so I don't want to repeat Jr. Bernard Raymond and Devontae Wyatt at the top there are two guys that we haven't talked as much about. Bernard Raymond's an interesting one. He's going to be a 25-year-old rookie, which I know turns off a lot of people. That's an old rookie, but he's somebody that I do think could play right away for them at tackle. A really good developmental prospect. If not, I would potentially trade down for Bernard Raymond a couple of spots and try to add picks. I don't know. I have a tough time thinking that Jordan Davis is going to be here, and I feel like we're going a little bit unrealistic, but I don't think it's too unrealistic. I'm right in that 15 to 20 range.
So here's just to explain to the people who don't really understand what we're doing here. The PFF simulator is imperfect, right? Last year, like, we would have a chance to pick Zaven Collins in the 6th round. Zaven Collins ended up being a 1st-round pick. We just pretended we didn't see him because he wasn't realistically going to be there.
Yes.
It is borderline with Davis. I agree. To me, the big surprise is Linderbaum. Besides him, this all kind of feels like it tracks.
Yeah.
If it wasn't Davis, I say we go to Kobe Dean. I think there's a lot of momentum towards that. You know what? I could honestly see him going that way, even if this is the way the board falls.
Ugh.
They've met with Dean twice.
Yeah.
They're going to love his football IQ. They're going to love his versatility, right?
He's a leader, too. He's a really polished kid. Like, I listened to him on Next Pats with Phil Perry a couple weeks ago, and you can just tell that he could be like a congressman, right? Like, he's like holding court. Right. And he's very comfortable in his skin. I like Nakobe Dean a lot, too. It's such a departure from what they've been, but maybe they need that and they know it. Maybe they've identified that they need that. I don't know. I think that Kobe Dean's definitely a lot more realistic of an option here of potentially falling to 21 than Jordan Davis, but we're going to get killed for passing on Jordan Davis.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with the backlash. We're going with Jordan. I mean, again, we're debating this in terms of we're trying to keep this realistic. Could Jordan Davis be on the board, or do we need to put our blinders on? If the board falls this way, it's Jordan Davis, and it's not a question.
Yeah, so just for argument's sake, and then we're going to make the pick.
Yeah.
Marcus Mosher does a nice job of putting together a consensus board of like the top draft guys, right? We use one that uses like 100 different simulations and stuff like that. He really narrows it down to like the Mel Kipers and the Dane Bruglers and the top guys.
But he only does the first round.
Yes, and he only does the first round. So based off of this, I think he had Jordan Davis on the consensus board at like 17 or 18 earlier today.
So it's not outlandish.
So he's actually got him at 14 now. His average is 16.4, but his overall, ranking is 14th. So it's a little high, right?
But you know what? The league let Mac Jones fall to.
That's the thing. You
can't fall to 15. That, right? So what? I think it's Jordan Davis. So here's what I'll say before we make the pick, though. This isn't necessarily a monster need, right? We still need a corner. We still need a linebacker. We still need a lineman. We're not trading up from 54. If anything, we're trading back, right?
Yes, correct.
Because we got
to start.
We need more top 100 picks.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
We talked too much.
That feels good. We just got probably pound for pound, no pun intended. TTO, true talent overall, is a metric that it doesn't have a lot of practical purpose. True talent overall basically means if you basically gave all the players Madden ratings, where would they rank?
Yeah.
Jordan Davis is probably the top TTO player in this draft.
Yeah.
I think you can make a strong case. It's him, Evan Neal, Derek Stingley, or Matt Ariza.
So what? Matt Ariza.
No, true talent overall, Evan. Talent relative to position, regardless of positional value. Matt Ariza is a top 5 player in this draft.
So what I love so much about Jordan Davis for the Patriots is I know a lot of people out there say, well, how does that help you beat Buffalo? How does a nose tackle help you beat the Bills? Well, the way that I see it is that I'm old enough. I hope everybody's old enough to understand what Vince Wilfork brought to the table when he was with the Patriots. When you have a guy in the middle of the defense that's able to essentially on his own control the line of scrimmage and stop the run as a one-man wrecking crew, it allows your entire rest of your defense to do other things, to roam, to fly around, and keeps everybody clean. So when they're playing a team like Buffalo, now you have a lot more flexibility on the back end on first down to play 2 high shells, to play all the safeties that Bill Belichick has accumulated. If they want to run 5-6 defensive backs on first down against the Bills now and get more speed and athletes on the field, they'll be able to do that because Jordan Davis can control the line by himself. So no, he doesn't bring the pass rush juice to get after Josh Allen in the conventional way. But what he does is he allows them to control the line of scrimmage on first and second down. And that's such a critical aspect of stopping a team like Buffalo because now, like I said, you have schematic advantages. You can play 2 high. You can play 6 DBs. You can play zone. You can play man. You can pretty much do whatever you need to do on the back end to shore up RPO defense, Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, spread formations, all of it. And Jordan Davis allows you to just have all that flexibility because now you have one guy is a rock in the middle of your defensive line who will not get moved. And that's, I think, the biggest appeal I can kind of come up with of why Jordan Davis is such a great pick for the Pats there.
Well, the other thing, maybe he doesn't have the pass rush talent to be your marquee pass rusher, but him, Barmore, Judon on third down, you're not blocking those 3 with 5 guys. Yeah. You're just not. It's not going to happen. You're going to have to leave the running back in, or you're going to have your rollout design, whatever. Like, you're not. Jordan Davis isn't necessarily going to come in and get like 5 sacks against the Bills. But if they're going to leave him one-on-one, he's going to disrupt the passing game. If they want to double him.
He's got great length, too, to get into passing lanes. Like, if they're trying to hit that quick RPO pop that they like that slant route, Gabriel Davis caught one for a touchdown on Jalen Mills last year. Jordan Davis getting all 6'6" in that passing lane is also something that he's going to do a lot of. So
that's
just
we forget that about. Yeah. We forget that about Jordan Davis. Everybody talks about the 341, and it's an impressive number. He's also 6'6". Again, if they're going to double, if they're going to leave him one-on-one, he'll create problems. If they're not, then either Barmore or Judon's going to be one-on-one, or they're going to have to leave the back end. You can't block those 3 guys. You cannot block those 3 guys with 5 offensive linemen. You need the back or a tight end or something. So that's a game changer. All right, let's look at the board at 54. Did anybody interesting fall? I mean, there's obviously good players here at 54.
Yeah.
Trey McBride still being here is kind of interesting. I don't know that there's any whoa players. We talked about wanting to add a top 100. Let's look at the deals we have on the board.
Yes.
Cincinnati's the only way we say. I think we made this trade last week, did we not?
Feels like we did. I don't mind at all. Can you just quickly pull up the linebackers? Did Leo Chenal make it here?
I don't think he did. I don't believe I saw him. He did not.
The one.
Mama, Anderson, Harris. I think he was and Quay Walker, who PFF hates. Chenal went 48 to the Bears.
Okay, so I just feel like Leo Chenal, they would draft the crap out of Leo Chenal. Like, that guy is absolutely perfect. 250 pounds, plays on and off the line of scrimmage, comes downhill like a missile. He's not on the board anymore, so I should stop my explanation. He's just a really freaking good fit.
Well, no, we're here to learn. This is a learning experience. We're here to learn.
The fact that Leo Chenal is gone here, I personally, the way I look at it, I think second round corner is so Patriots. Like, that's just them picking a corner in the second round feels like an absolute lock to me. I get the first round talent could also be there with Booth or McDuffie if they want that style of player, but we know how much they love DBs in the second round. That's the money round for them. I do wonder here if you start talking about a corner. I didn't see the corner board. If we could pull that up too.
So just real quick, if we move down, this is the trade. And I don't hate that.
No,
I don't hate that at all.
We've made these types of trades before. You take the best player available at 21, and then you move down in the second round to accumulate that extra top 100. I love the optics of it. And the reason why I brought up corner is I think all of us believe that this is too early to take Zion McCollum. I don't know if Bill Belichick thinks it's too early to take Zion McCollum. It would make me feel a lot better and make me stomach it a lot more if they traded down first and then they took Zion McCollum, right? If you're taking him at 63 at the end of the second round, then that is a little bit better, I think, than taking him at 54. But the Patriots love those types of guys. The raw upside, great athletes. He's Kyle Duggar, but he plays corner instead of playing safety.
Right.
It just makes a lot of sense.
Here's what I'd say. Like, we look at the board, Christian Watson's still here.
Yeah.
John Mechie's still here. Those are 2
wide receivers. I don't know.
Well, no, I would just say those are 2 players we like. Dylan Parham, Jamari Sailor, potential starting guards right away. Yeah. Those guys are still here. I actually really like Martin Emerson. I got more into him in the last week.
Me too.
Marcus Jones, Zion McCollum. There's like multiple corners we like in this day 2 range. You got a couple of edge guys, Cameron Thomas, Josh Pascal, D'Angelo Malone, Anderson, Mama Harris. Here's the point. We're moving back 9 spots.
Yeah.
I think I just named more than 9 players.
Yeah, no, I think moving back, all the linebackers besides Leo Chenal and obviously the first round guys, Dean and Devin Lloyd, are still here. Anderson, Mama, Christian Harris, all those guys are still here. So whether you're getting one of those or you're getting one of the corners, I think you're coming away with a player that you need in this spot if you move down.
So we're going to we're not going to get totally, we've been screwed by this draft board pretty bad, Evan.
Yeah.
We're not going to get totally screwed here if we move down 9 spots.
In the first round this time around, so I feel like we can take the risk. Like, if we get screwed in the second round, at least we got the guy in the first round.
Yeah, the board finally gave us a gift. And we get that 7th round pick, which we can have some fun with. So let's do it. Excellent. And let's see, I'm going to speed this up now. There goes Christian Harris, Quay Walker. All right, so
a lot of the linebackers.
We lost a lot of the linebackers, but you know what? We took Jordan Davis. We addressed the front 7. He's not a linebacker, but if there was any position we were going to get screwed with in that situation, I don't hate that it's linebacker.
So the question that I have, though, is since there was a run at linebacker, can you pull up the linebackers that are remaining?
Let's see if anybody made it.
Because, like, even Brandon Smith went here, right? So, like, a guy, I think this is a little early for a guy like Darian Beavers, but if you're on draft night and this is the way that it's going and there's a run at linebacker and you want to draft a linebacker on day 2, you better get your guy, right? Because now Darian Beavers is one of the best players left on the board at the position. I'm not the biggest Brian Asamoah fan. He is kind of Christian Harris-y, right? Like he's sort of the Sooners version of that. Undersized linebacker, good speed. I think that they would look at their linebacker board. I bet you that they would have it like Leo Chenal. I'm talking about day 2, Leo Chenal, and then I wouldn't be surprised if Beavers is the next guy. He's not as good, I don't think, as he's not as explosive. He's not as impactful of a take-on player as a guy like Chenal is. He doesn't attack the line of scrimmage with the same kind of ferocity, but he is a similar mold, I would say, as someone like Chenal. So it's a little early for Beavers, but I feel like if we don't take Beavers, then we're not getting any linebackers at 85 or 95.
So we can go through. By the way, do you want to share the list? I know it's just one person right now. Yeah. Half an hour in, we're doing great. But if you want to share the list of who we've taken. So a lot of people in the chat are talking about John Mechie. This does feel about right for John Mechie. I think we took him here last week. I think, So Saylor's still here. Jamari Saylor is going to come right in. He's going to be a starting left guard.
Here's our board so far.
Saylor feels like, or Sawyer, I actually don't know. I've only seen it written. Feels like a great fit here. Again, we checked that starting guard off. We're taking care of the trenches. The corners, I still like Martin Emerson. I'll explain why in a minute. I just want to go through the board. It's probably early for Marcus Jones, Zion McCollum. I'm not even going to bother with defensive interior. On the edge, they love their day 2 edge rushers. Nick Benito's a good player. Josh Pascal's a good player. Cameron Thomas went. And then we kind of looked at the linebackers there. So here's why I like, and I don't know that he's the pick, Martin Emerson. If they want to bridge their old defensive philosophy with this more zone thing, Martin Emerson's a 6'2", 210-pound corner that primarily played zone in college. Like he's the zone version of the guys they've brought in for the last 10 years.
He's a good athlete too. Tested well.
Yeah, tested very well. So I could see them being super in on him. Like you said, we know they like the second round defensive back.
Yeah.
So he feels like a fit. So I would either say
so much about Zion McCollum that we haven't really talked a ton about Martin Emerson. Really long, physical guy. When you watch him against some of the SEC guys, I know he got pulled away from by Jameson Williams, but so did everybody in college football. But he's somebody that really battled with Alabama's receivers, with some of the other great receivers in the SEC, went toe-to-toe with all those guys for the last couple of years. Physical, long, has man coverage skills, but like you said, more of a zone guy at Mississippi State. Really good eyes and awareness, I would say, in zone coverage. Like when he's got guys from 3x1, he's coming from the backside. He's got a good job of kind of finding threats coming into his zones and where guys are coming from. You see him on tape a lot of the time, like pointing out like, oh, this guy's coming from here, that guy's coming from there. A smart player. I think that he's a really good pick here as well. Maybe it's more like a 3rd round guy that we're taking a little bit early, but I think he's going to be someone that could play right away. I think he's got a good football IQ. I think he'd be able to play pretty early.
Okay, so that's an interesting one. The other thing is, so as we kind of plan this out, do we want to move up later in the 3rd round?
So
because that might. Again, so hypothetically, we could get from 85 to 79 pretty easily.
Right. We did add that extra 7th round pick, right? So we have an extra 3 pick now. The issue that I have with the way the board stacked up is we see it right here, just at where it's at now. Anderson, Mumma, Smith, Walker, all the linebackers are going. Like the run at linebacker is happening. We did this last week. We took Mechie here, and we didn't get a linebacker. Remember, we weren't able to get one of the top 100 linebackers because they were all gone by the time we picked in the end of the 3rd round. Based off the way that the board is shaken out, the pick here should probably be to join in on the run, right? But
the Patriots never do that.
They have in the past. I mean, they did it.
Do they? I feel like they always buck the runs.
It didn't work out, but they kind of started and then also were in on the tight end run in 2020 with Keenan Asiasi. That was when that started. I don't know. I know for a fact the way this simulator works that if we don't pick a linebacker here, we're not getting a linebacker in the top 100. Like all the guys are going to be gone.
I'd feel more inclined if we didn't take Jordan Davis 21, right?
Yeah.
I just think, we addressed the, like, I think, and they're going to see it. They addressed the front seven. And look, they addressed the front seven multiple times over the first 2 days. That's what they do. But there's kind of a corner. We're kind of on the back end of a corner run here too, right? I guess it was right when we traded down, a bunch of corners went. But
yeah, McCreary. Yeah. I mean, look, I like Emerson too. I think it's maybe a little early for him, but at the end of the day, if you like the player, then we're arguing over picking him maybe 10 spots too soon, right?
So here's the thing. Who do they like reaching on more, corners or linebackers?
Probably definitely corners. That one's easy.
And it's a bigger need and all of that. I don't hate trading up in the third round, though. So I'm going to drop the speed on this. Who are the top linebackers on the board? I just want to see who are the top linebackers on the board.
I think, you can make an argument. Like I said, I'm not the biggest Asamoah guy, but the fact that they did just take Jordan Davis does allow them to take a little bit of an undersized linebacker because he got a 400-pound guy in front of him now. So it's not as much of a need to take the thumper. Channing Tindall is still there. And that guy flies. I mean, you talk about explosive sideline to sideline. That guy absolutely flies. I don't know if he's going to last much longer. That might be the one difficult thing here. But if we take the corner and we want to get cute with it and trade back up from the third round, I would say that the guy for me personally in this group would be Channing Tindall. I think that's a perfect fit.
Let's do this. And this is kind of what they did last year. It's a little different. I say we take the corner and then let's watch Asamoah, Beavers, Tindall. Once two of them go, we'll move up and get the third, whoever it is. Because I think you can make a case for all three.
All right, take our Emerson just so that we take a different corner than Zion McCollum.
You know what? I think Emerson too. I think with Zion McCollum, we're really into their old philosophy. If they're going to really, embrace this new zone look, Emerson's a better fit. Yeah. He's a better fit than McCollum.
And he's also an SEC guy versus an FCS guy.
Yeah, more NFL ready. All right, so one more time. Who are the three linebackers? Tindall, Asamoah, and Beavers. Okay. Asamoah. So those are the three guys we're watching for, and they're going to go with the next three picks. But we're going to take Martin Emerson. I do like that pick. Whoop, that went too fast. All right. So
there goes
Tindall went. Let's hope this goes slower. I got to do this like one at a time now. All right. It's working in our favor. There goes Beavers. All right. Do we want to try to move up here? Or do we think the Ravens would take a linebacker? I could see the Ravens taking a linebacker.
Yeah, I could as well. I think we could move up here for a guy like Asamoah. They do like that program, right? I mean, that's
right.
Oklahoma is a program that they've drafted a lot of in the past. So I could see that. And like I said, you get somebody like Jordan Davis in the front seven. Now you have somebody that can kind of eat blocks and allow a guy like Asamoah. I think he's like 225, 230, right? He's not big. Yeah. So I think that's not a terrible pick here. Let me look at his weight real fast. 226, 6 feet, 226, 4.56 40-yard dash. So guy flies. That sideline to sideline box is checked if you draft a guy like Brian Asamoah.
So this is the deal right here. This is the deal. Works for me. I'm good with it.
Yeah, I don't really care. Like, they already have the fifth, right? So I mean, what do we
they have? Yeah, they have the fifth from Shaq Mason. So we're trading the fifth. I guess I'll throw on the seventh. There we go. All right. We may need to trade down again. Brian Asamoah is the pick. We moved up to get him. Good value. We make the pick. All right. I can speed this back up again. We're going to let it run now to 95. We've already made, what, 2 trades? 3 trades?
We like making trades.
Okay, so we still need a starting guard. We still haven't taken a receiver. You want to pull up the reset real quick? You want to pull that reset up full screen? Let people see.
This is our best draft yet. No doubt about it.
Well, I mean, we got Jordan Davis.
It helps when Jordan Davis is at the top, but we're killing it. This is definitely the best one we've done so far.
If the Patriots get Jordan Davis 21, they can take Danny Etling with the next 9 picks, and it'll still be a great draft. Like, that's just the reality of it. But
yeah, we got the big guy in the middle in Davis, the long corner on the outside in Emerson, and you pair Asamoah with 340 pounds of Jordan Davis in front of him. So easy for him to now stay clean and just fly around the field to the ball. This is the type of defense that we wanted to build, right? This is the type of defense that Patriots fans want them to build. So we're in good shape right now. I like where we're at. Third round, I think we could start talking wide receiver. I think in third and fourth round, I think there's good value at O-line and wide receiver in both rounds. So I could go either way with this, but depending on who's still on the board at wide receiver, I definitely think we start having that conversation now.
So I'm pulling all that up. So here's a look at just offensive line, wide receiver. I'm going to throw edge on there too, actually. They might go edge day too.
Yeah.
They tend to do that.
Yeah.
So Khalil Shakir, if we want potential, Jacoby Myers replacement, is on a 1-year deal. Zach Tom is our starting guard. We do still need a starting guard.
We love Gadecki on this program.
Gadecki's still there. I like D'Angelo Malone. I'm a big D'Angelo Malone guy. Marquise Hayes, and then we're probably getting some more reaches. What are you thinking? We could move down. Josh McDaniels is calling. Could move down at a future asset.
No, shut up, Josh. I think that it's tough because I think we're reaching a little bit on an offensive lineman here.
Hang on. I just saw this. Here's your run, Evan. The 4 picks before us.
Yeah.
Parham, Max Mitchell, Kellen Deach, Sean Ryan. 3 of those.
Yeah,
I don't know that much about Deach. The other 3 guys I like for the Patriots.
So Deach I watched recently because he started
a couple picks before.
Yeah, Fortner's he's going to be a 10-year pro. That guy's just oozing with intangibles. Just a really, really good football player.
Run. The 10 picks before this: Ed Ingram, Tariq Woolen, Justice, Marcus Jones, Fortner, Fedarian Mathis, Wandale Robinson, Parham, Mitchell, Ryan. All guys I'd love to see on the Patriots.
Yeah, so
that's a heck of a run.
Deach is super athletic. He's finesse, though. He's not a power blocker by any means, but he's really, really athletic. Good feet, good leverage, good hand placement, striking down the field. He can move. He can pass protect. I like a lot about his game. He's just not a powerful guy, and I don't know what direction they're going in. If they're going to still be a downhill run scheme, I'm not sure if Kellen Deach is a fit for them. More of a fit, perfect fit. He went to San Francisco, right? They're going to run outside zone. He's going to be scoop blocking, things like that. That makes a lot of sense. The Patriots, he's maybe I guess you could kind of say he's a little Nate Solder-y, right? If you want to try to come up with the Pats comp for a guy like Deach, he's kind of got similar build, similar athleticism. I guess you could make that argument. Are we thinking running back here?
So I was about to say, we're sitting guard. We're sitting wide receiver.
Yeah.
James Cook's here.
Yes.
The best rounded back in this draft. They met with him this week.
127's got to be the first time we talk about running back. We can't take a running back in the top 100. We can't take a running back.
Evan, this isn't us. This is them. I know you don't want to. This is them. That's a fall. That's a fall. Some people think James Cook's going to go at the end of the second round.
I like Gadecki here.
But here's the thing. Here's how they're going to see it. Gadecki's still there. Zach Tom is still there.
Well, Zach Tom's a guard. Marquise Hayes is also a guard.
That's what I'm saying. Because we're talking about them getting a starting guard here.
We are.
They're going to see all those guards and say, well, there's a bunch of guards on the board. There'll still be guards on the board at 127. Chris Paul's still here.
You just mentioned we're back in one of those runs, right, where all these offensive linemen just went. I think Gadecki's
they're gonna see all those linemen still on the board, and they're gonna see James Cook still there, falling to them.
I think guys like Marquise Hayes, I think a guy like Zach Tom, they are only interior players. I get that the idea is to probably move Gadecki to left guard, but Gadecki could play tackle, and I wouldn't put it past the Patriots to try him out at tackle and then move him inside once he fails at tackle. To me, they need a guy that can play tackle and guard.
Here's what I'm saying to you.
They're at both places. Yeah.
Are they going to value the potential starting tackle over getting the guy who can come in and start at guard now?
Well, I think Gadecki can start at guard too. I think that he could also play tackle, right? He played right tackle at a really high level at Central Michigan. Zach Tom is, to me, too undersized to play tackle in the NFL. I just don't think that he's got the ability to do it in the NFL. Really, really good out of his stance, really quick. I like Zach Tom as a prospect a lot, but I just think in this spot, I think you have to draft a guy that could also play tackle. And I think Gadecki is the only one.
I don't know why you have to. I think in this spot, this is top 100. You need a potential multi-contract starters and a guy you're gonna realistically extend beyond his rookie deal. That's at guard right now. That's not at tackle.
Right. So, but
guard.
I agree with you. But what I'm saying is I think Gadecki is a guard that could play tackle versus a tackle that could play guard.
Is Gadecki a week 1 starter in 2022 at left guard?
Week 1, I don't know, because he's going to have to learn the position, right? That's the difference. He's definitely got the traits and all the boxes checked to be able to be a starter week 1 at guard, but will he be ready? I don't know. So I
mean, that's on them. You get my point. Like, here's the thing. At this point, and maybe we get it. I think we could potentially get a starting guard at 127, but if we don't take the guard here, how do you feel about Drew Desjardins, CFL All-Star, being your starting left guard, protecting Mac Jones in week 1?
I would assume if it's not, maybe it's James Ferentz, right? I think
James, that's fine. But do you get my point?
They could move Justin Herron inside to guard. I'm going to vouch for Gadecki here. I understand where you're coming from. I just think that he's the best lineman on the board, and I think that we need to get a lineman. Like, the wide receiver is a luxury pick at this point. The pick that we absolutely need to have is is an offensive lineman. Whether it's a tackle or a guard, you need to draft a lineman in the top 100.
If it was any other position, Evan, I would push back and say they're 100% taking James Cook here. But I think that they love drafting linemen. They love drafting, although actually in the last 10 years, Evan, they've only drafted 3 linemen in the top 100.
Yeah, because they don't need to, right? They don't.
So do they need to take Gadecki here?
I think they do, because on top of the fact, like, last 10 years you call it, they had Dante Scarnecchia in the building for how many of those? And then they had Carm Brasillo in the building after that. Who is Matt Patricia, the offensive line coach right now? Like, that's what we're dealing with.
It's Billy Yates, isn't it?
I guess Billy Yates will do a good job with him too. But that's the concern, is that you don't really have the luxury to take the 6th round offensive lineman like Onwenu and turn him into a stud, because you don't have the coaching. I think Gadecki is really sound. Like, he's somebody that I think has got such a great feel for the game, maybe even better than, like, Bernard Raymond's only played 18 games in his life on the offensive line. Gadecki, when you watch it, he's just so much more polished and aware of what's going on around him. Raymond's just an athlete out there trying to survive. Gadecki is somebody that I think has really got a good head on his shoulders about the position. I like him a lot. That's why I'm advocating for it here. I think we just saw Ryan. We saw Parham. We saw Fortner. Like, those are the other guys that I think are day one. Ryan, I think, would be a great pick if he had made it to 95. Those are the day one starters at guard for the Patriots. Okay. And I think Gadecki's probably the last of that bunch.
Not Chris Paul, not Zach Tom?
Day one, I think Zach Tom could maybe start at guard.
Okay.
I just like the flexibility a little bit more.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. And look, they're gonna put a premium on that. They're gonna say, well, this guy might be slightly better in year 1, but this guy's potentially a tackle in year 2. They're gonna like the guys potentially tackle in year 2. So we'll take Gadecki. Again, they've only drafted 3 linemen in the top 100 in the last 10 years. Isaiah Wynn, Joe Thuney, and Antonio Garcia. Those are the only 3. So this is a little bit of a trend bucker, but you're right. The coaching staff is different. I think that's a good reason to kind of kick that trend.
Garcia, man. You could have just left that one out.
What?
You didn't have to mention Garcia.
I mean, he got sick. That wasn't on them. All right, I'm going to take Gadecki, and then we're going to let it run to 127 and see what the board looks like, because I would not be opposed to trading down again. So we can move down 10 spots.
Should we just quickly recap the top 100? Because now
yeah, I'm going to kind of scour the board real quick. You go ahead. Oh, yeah. Okay. You go ahead and do that. We've got some very interesting choices here.
It to work. I don't know. It's holding up, but top 100, very top of the draft. Easy. Didn't really take us much time to figure this one out. Jordan Davis, first round. That's the top of the draft for the Patriots. Great. We love it for so many reasons, right? Martin Emerson in the second round, really solid, underrated cornerback prospect in this draft. Long, athletic, outside corner, physical guy, plays a lot of zone, plays some man well too. Brian Asamoah, you're looking for speed at linebacker. We got it. 4.56 in the 40-yard dash. Undersized linebacker, but now you have a guy like Jordan Davis in front of him to keep him clean. He's someone that flies the football. We like that. Luke Gadecki from Central Michigan. I think a day one starter at guard, could also probably play tackle, flexible player, but I think we've been looking for that starting guard, and Gadecki checks that box. So we got Jordan Davis, day one impact star, in my opinion. Martin Emerson, maybe it takes a little bit to develop in the rookie season, but I think he's going to eventually be a starting corner for the Patriots. Asamoah, I think, could be a special teamer early and then potentially contribute later on in the year or next year. And Gadecki, day one starter. So we got at least 2 day one starters here, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree. And we're going to get potentially another one here. The board loves us in this one, Evan.
The board's been friendly to us tonight. I like
so
that.
Let's run through some positions here. Wide receiver, I still think we wait. We could reach on Bo Melton, but I still think we wait.
Did Danny Green go? Did Danny Green go? He went.
I thought I just saw Danny Gray.
Okay. Danny Gray, yeah. Interesting. So Velus Jones and Danny Gray are both still on the board. I love both of those guys for the Patriots.
Velus, Bo Melton. Well,
I
think we have a good shot of guys at 170 there. We could go offensive line again, get another guard, Chris Paul. I know there's some tackles here we like. We've talked about in the past, Volson.
Yeah. I think maybe we could go lineman with that 6th rounder, 170. Right. I think would be,
on the edge, we've got Isaiah Thomas we took last week. I kind of like Zachary Carter. Then you're getting into some guys.
Zachary Carter is a bigger guy. That one's a little bit interesting. I've been kind of advocating for that edge setter. I don't know if D'Angelo Malone is that guy, but he's a guy that he
didn't make it here, did he?
Yeah, no, I thought it was Dominique Robinson that made it there. Sorry.
Okay.
So wrong DR.
Well, so here's what I would say though. There's one other player here who's very interesting, Evan. And then you'll give your take, but we just talked about it's going to be tough for them to pass on James Cook. It's going to be real tough for them. Oh, wait, I want to do the corners too, real quick. I really like both of these guys for them. Michael Wright and Caleb Evans.
Yeah, I watched, but Wright's a little bit smaller, right? I think
he's a slot. He's a slot guy.
Yeah, Caleb Evans is kind of like if we didn't take Martin Emerson on the 2nd round, Caleb Evans is kind of similar, like good athlete,
similar player.
Yeah, Cordell.
He just has injury concerns. He hasn't played a ton. He's been hurt.
Yeah, Cordell Flood is small. He's got a really rail thin frame, but some good flashes of ball skills on his tape. Can play nickel, can play outside. He's an interesting prospect too.
But we just talked about Evan. It's going to be tough for them to pass if James Cook falls. They need a pass catching back in the short term. They need an early down back in the long term. Brian Robinson's still on the board.
Yes.
They would make this. I don't think they would let him get past here. I think he is, in terms of college product, in terms of like what you see on the tape, he is a better prospect than Ramondre was last year. And they took Ramondre at 120. Now we're sitting here at 127. It's a position of need. He went to Alabama. If James Cook is the best do-it-all back in this draft, Brian Robinson's the 2nd best. This feels like a no-brainer to me.
I've already been sold on this being a running back at this point. I know they're going running back at some point in this draft. I talked you out of it in the 3rd round. I got you to the 4th round before we did it. I like Rachaad White from Arizona State too, as in that pass catching role. He's got some skill. Tyler Batty, he already went. I'm assuming Batty. I don't know.
He goes for late on this. He's a fit. Zonovan Knight's an interesting player too. He was back-to-back all ACC as a kick returner. He was one of the best kickoff returners in college football.
Yeah, Brian Robinson, I think, gives you a little bit more girth, though, right? Like, he's got a little bit more between the tackles about him. Like, I think he's better and has much higher upside than, like, Rex Burkhead. But, like, you're thinking about that kind of mold, right? Somebody that
6'1".
Yeah.
Yeah, so 6'1", 225. We talk about Patriots backs in one of two classes, right? We talk about them as the early down back, LeGarrette Blount, Antoine Smith, right? That sort of mold, Corey Dillon. Or we talk about the pass catching backs, James White, Danny Woodhead, Kevin Falk. There's a few that kind of can do both. Rex Burkhead, to me, is the chief example. I think Ramondre Stevenson could be that kind of guy. Brian Robinson's absolutely that kind of guy, too. Brian Robinson, I think, If he's still here, they are popping champagne in the draft room if they can get him at 127.
All right.
That's
I like it.
All right.
I like it. We do need to get a wide receiver at some point, but I do like.
We do need to get a wide receiver. Let's see what the board looks like at 170. It might be time to trade down again, in all honesty. So,
why do I have a feeling that all the good wide receivers are now gone?
Nope. Bo Melton, Danny Gray, Velus Jones, all still here.
Okay, so I don't think Danny Gray's making it here. He ran a 4.33 in the 40-yard dash, and he's got really good tape at SMU. I think he's going to be a 4th-round pick. I like Velus Jones a ton for them too. Maybe a little bit thicker, and his build is a little bit sturdier than Bo Melton, right? He's not quite as small as Bo Melton is. And he also adds that return capability. I think if you're going to draft a wide receiver, unless they're going at the top of the draft and they're trying to get their number 1 guy, if they're going to go in the middle rounds at wide receiver, the guy's got to be able to return. I just think that that's such an area of need for the team. Velus Jones would be a ton of fun. I don't know if they have the creativity on the offensive coaching staff to fully unlock him on offense in year 1. Might have to wait till Bill O'Brien gets here next year. But he's somebody that he can create with the football in his hands. He's an explosive ball carrier, end arounds, jet sweeps, screen passes. I think in a lot of ways, like the best comp for him is probably somebody like Jakeem Grant or Isaiah McKenzie, in that kind of mold. Not exactly the most polished receiver, but when you turn on the tape, his speed and explosiveness, it's there, right? Like it's screaming at you. Like this guy can absolutely move.
So the one thing I'd say about waiting a year, he's going to be 25 next month.
Yeah,
he played 6 seasons of college football. They might not care though. That's part of the reason he'd still be here. Can I just see one thing too before we make this pick? How many picks have we made so far?
We have made 5. We made 4 in the top 100, and then we just took Brian Robinson.
7 feels low. They average 9 picks. They've averaged 9 picks a draft over the last 10 years. They've picked 10 players in 2 of the last 3. 7 feels low. I think we need to trade down.
It is low, but I just don't like the optics of passing on all these. The board really broke our way with some of these receivers lasting till the 5th round. Like Danny Gray and Velus Jones are good players. Like those guys can play on Sundays. I think passing on those guys with that need, like I don't know, what are we going to get in this trade down? What are the optics?
Evan, once you get, and this is how they think. We know this is how they think. Once you get to the 5th round, 5th, 6th, 7th round, it's not about what you're passing on. It's about how many kicks at the can you get, right? At this point, you're just throwing darts, and you'd rather have more throws, right?
I guess my opinion is that I don't think that a Velus Jones pick is necessarily throwing darts. Like I think that guy can play. I don't know.
So here's the thing though. Velus Jones still here. Bo Melton's still here.
I cannot believe we have people complaining about this draft and we got Jordan.
They're going to complain
Davis in the first.
Even if we move down, like Dallas has 2 picks here, right? You don't think we're moving down 6? You think we're going to lose all 3 of those receivers?
I don't, but we don't have a 7th anymore.
They don't. We need that to do the trade.
So what do we have?
We have
2 picks left. Right? We have 170, and we have.
I think we need to add one. I'm telling you, I think we need to add one.
Well, you think we need to add one to be realistic. I don't think we need to add one. You think we need to add one so that it reflects how many guys.
Well, no, because I think that's how they would do it, and we're trying to do what we think they would do. I think they would try to add a pick here. They also never pick in the 5th round, Evan. They've picked in the 5th round 6 times in the last 10 years.
I'm very high on all 3 of those receivers. And I think those guys can all, Bo Melton, Velus Jones, Danny Gray can all contribute to the Patriots. I think Danny Gray has real potential to be a starting wide receiver. I think Velus Jones and Bo Melton are more Isaiah McKenzie's, right? Gadget players, return guys, things like that. But I think a guy like Danny Gray could be a complete receiver for them. I don't know. I think we got lucky that in fact those guys are still here.
So if we are picking here, I think it's Velus Jones. Well, I think it's we've picked him like 10 times. So
yeah, I think we can pick Velus Jones here. Like I said, I wouldn't sleep on Danny Gray. I think he's got potential, but Velus Jones here makes a lot of sense too.
So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take Velus Jones here. We're both gonna get what we want. We're gonna take Velus Jones there. For what it's worth, okay, Bo Melton went. Bo Melton, we wouldn't have gotten him.
Yes.
We're moved down from here, though. We're going to find a team that has 2 picks. Yeah, we're going to trade with the Rams.
I think you just
is that Mr. Relevant?
I think you just are making the pick, making this trade back so you can take Matt Araiza somewhere.
Matt Araiza is off the board. At this point, he falls under the simulator fucked up rule.
Oh, okay.
At this point, we can't take him. We could have, if we didn't take him at 170, we're not taking him.
Can't take him.
I'm gonna move back 8 spots because I want to make at least 8 picks because that's what the Patriots do. We're trying to emulate what they do. Who did we pass on? Christopher Allen's really the one player in that list. I guess Josh Thompson that kind of stands out.
Now we have a 7th rounder too.
Right. So now we have a 6th and a 7th. So I guess here we're kind of looking BPA, right? Again, Araiza falls under he's not going to be here. He's not falling to 2-8. Now, if you want to talk about taking Jordan Stout here, we can have that conversation. I think that's a fair conversation to have.
Yeah.
Kicked in the Northeast, had a very, very good Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
Generational punter in the draft. So Bill's going to take a different punter. Like, this is a conversation we could have. Jason Poe's a guy people have been really high on lately. We take Nate Landman in every draft. I guess we could take him again.
I like taking another lineman here, right? I think we got Hideki, we got our starter, but I think we need to get somebody as maybe a developmental tackle or just, guy that we can stash away for a bit. We do like Vidarian Lowe. Dare Rosenthal's an interesting pick here too. That's a power right tackle, right? A guy that's just physically big and powerful. I think, have we done Andrew Stuber yet? I think that's another guy that could be
an easy pick.
Yeah, Michigan.
Spencer Carter too.
Interesting pick too. Yep.
I mean, who do we want? I think we both agree on taking a tackle here. Who do we want?
Yeah, Vidarian Lowe. Let's do it.
I think it's Vidarian Lowe. I think it's the Brett Bielema connection.
Yeah.
I think that's a strong one.
I think Vidarian Lowe, too, is a captain, like really well thought of player there at Illinois. I think that's a guy that might actually be a sneaky good pick. Like, that could be
they like players who are showing progress, right?
Yeah.
He grew so much in 2020. Like, he was such a better player in 2021 than he was in 2020. Like that, they're going to circle that, right?
Yeah.
All right. And then with our last pick, so
Ariza's still here? What happened?
Yeah, that's not, you just unsee that. He's not going to be here.
What happened?
What?
Why is he still here?
Because every NFL GM should be fired and the math sucks. That's why. So
EJ Perry's interesting.
I don't think he's still going to be here at this point. He might be. That's an interesting one.
The more that we look at the pre-draft visits, the way that they're moving in this process, it's not the starting quarterback, obviously. It's the backup quarterback that they're thinking about. Why pay Jared
scout team quarterback?
Why give Jared Stidham any sort of raise next year? Right, he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. He doesn't deserve a raise, so why are we giving it to Stidham? Brian Hoyer is basically a coach. The backup quarterback spot is interesting. I like EJ Perry because he's an athlete that could potentially, like you said, emulate scout team. If you scroll down a little bit, there was Caleb Ellerby is interesting too, right?
Mac Jones.
Yeah, he's kind of got some Mac flavor to him. If they're just trying to get a guy that, if Mac goes down, they have kind of like a poor man's Mac Jones behind him, then Ellerby is an interesting one. He's kind of like Brian Hoyer. Right?
Yeah, I think it's more about the scout team, though. You look at the guys they met with, King, Perry.
Yeah.
I like Caleb Ellerby. I just don't think he makes it. Let's do what we did last week. Let's go through here. Let's look at the positions, and whoever we like that doesn't get taken, I'll put on a little UDFA list and I'll attach it to the tweet.
Okay, sounds good. I think we do take EJ Perry here, though.
Okay,
I think that's.
Well, let's see who else is here. Dins is here.
Erica Azakuma is not. He's getting drafted. There's no way he's not getting drafted.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for those guys.
Slade Bolden, I think, is a lock to be invited to camp.
I'll put him on the UDFA list.
Crazy, but Connor Hayward, if he doesn't get drafted, would be interesting. I think he's going to get drafted though. Probably right here, someplace in the seventh round.
So taking Connor Hayward here wouldn't be bad.
It wouldn't if you think that. If you're like really high on Ellerby or if you're really high on Perry and you think that those guys are going to get to UDFAs, then I think Connor Hayward has a role that's maybe a little bit bigger on the team, right? Like, I think that he could play this year and contribute as a fullback.
I think the other thing is, if it gets to this point, Connor Hayward, you have a better shot of, let's say they both made it to the UDFA point, right? You have a better shot of signing EJ Perry as UDFA than you do Connor Hayward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. We did Connor Hayward once before, though.
We did. Tyler Vrabel, obviously, he was here.
Okay.
Did we? I don't think we did. I don't think we did Hayward yet. I don't think we've taken him yet.
I thought we took him in the 7th round in another mock we did.
No, because last week was the first week we had a 7th round pick.
Oh, I thought we took him. I don't know. I like the quarterback here. I like EJ Perry.
All right, I'm just saying. Let's just make sure we didn't miss anybody.
They like doing that too. Like you look at their history of like guys like Zach Robinson and guys in the later on day 3 as backup quarterback guy, developmental guys. I think that those are interesting. EJ Perry too, like you said, scout team potential there.
We took Tua's cousin last week.
Yeah, we did.
And there's no interesting linebackers. There's that Ross guy from Michigan. So Perry or Stout? You want Perry?
Let's go Perry.
All right, EJ Perry.
And he's an Ivy Leaguer. I think they like the brains.
Yeah, especially for that scout team role. Learn a new playbook every week.
Yep. All right, so that's
so there we go.
I can pull it up. This to me right here is the best we've done so far. It does make it a lot easier that Jordan Davis was the number 1 pick. That certainly makes us feel a lot better about everything. But Jordan Davis, 1st round pick, we got a guy that's going to come in and just be a day 1 stud. I mean, there's no other way to put it, right? I mean, he is easily the best guy we've taken at that spot yet. Easily. So I'm really excited about that one if that were to happen. Martin Emerson from Mississippi State, maybe a slight reach there in the 2nd round, but we know the Patriots are good for 1 reach in a draft, and it's usually at corner or defensive back. So we get Martin Emerson here.
I have the PFF one, by the way, is good.
Okay. Yeah, long, athletic, physical, good coverage skills, good awareness if you want to play him in zone coverage like they did at Mississippi State. But I think his length and his size and his ability to run down the field and carry vertical routes and man is there. I think that he would have the ability to play man coverage as well. Brian Asamoah, physical for his size, but mostly a speedster. 4'5", 226. That's your athletic, rangy, new age linebacker. And Luke Gadecki, plug and play guard, in my opinion. I think he's a guy that's going to play left guard day 1 for them. Could play tackle if they absolutely need to. Alex, what do you like about this top 100, though? I think this is our best top 100 yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you like Jordan Davis skews it all, right? Yeah. But I think when you take Jordan Davis,
A- for getting Jordan Davis at 21,
should be an A+++.
Yeah.
When you take Jordan Davis, like we got a little more high upside than immediate impact with the rest of the picks, at least with Asamoah and Emerson.
Yeah.
I think you can afford Jordan Davis just going to change so much.
Right.
Like I'm probably higher on Jordan Davis than most people. I also don't think I'm wrong. Obviously, I don't think I'm wrong. But like, remember before the combine, I texted you. I said, I can't wait for Jordan Davis to run a sub-5. And you legitimately thought I was kidding. Like, I just think people don't understand because people use player comps so much to try to understand what prospects will be in the NFL.
Yeah.
I just think there's this mental gap when it comes to processing Jordan Davis's upside, because again, there is no comparison. The closest one, and I've caught in flack for saying this, I don't care, I'll say it again. He's like Aaron Donald, but significantly bigger. It's just a motor thing with him. That's all it is. And if anybody's going to get the most out of his motor, it's the Patriots.
I don't. Yeah, there is no comparison for a 340-pound guy that ran a 4.78. Like there is no comparison. So
when you get somebody like that, we took some flack for the Martin Emerson pick, and there's like they would pick him, and there would be a million people. Great, here we go again with Jameson Williams, right? You would get a bunch of that, and I kind of see where it's coming from. You can afford to take that risk when you take Jordan Davis, 21st overall. They're going to have again Jordan Davis, Christian Barmore, Matthew Judon. That's a top 3 defensive line in the league.
Yeah,
It
Vita
just
Vea,
is.
and that's not a terrible comp for Jordan Davis. I think it's somewhat similar, probably better. Martin Emerson, though, what I think is the difference when I watch him play versus like a guy like Jawan is Martin Emerson's got a little dog in him. Like
I think he's a different player, but I'm just saying like that's what you're gonna hear.
Yeah, but I think that's the difference. Like what I didn't see with Jawan and what I haven't seen with him with the Patriots, and even behind the scenes when we've had opportunities in the locker room and stuff like that, I just don't like see a killer instinct with him. I don't see that dude. Like I don't see a dog. I don't see a killer instinct. I think when you watch Martin Emerson at Mississippi State, like he took things personally. Like he was a physical, in your face, toe to toe with top competition type of guy. So I think that's a good pick for them here. Check similar boxes. Also, Martin Emerson ran a lot better than Jameson Williams did. Like Jameson Williams.
Oh, he's a significantly better. No, but people are going to see like the big corner from like the non-blue blood SEC school in the second round. Like that's, but no, I agree. I think Martin Emerson is like, when I look at Martin Emerson, right? He is the zone version of the corners that have succeeded here, right? He's big. He's got long arms. He likes to hit. He'll play the run. He's good at the catch point. Like that's what I'm not saying he's the same player as like Steph Gilmore, JC Jackson, but you talk about prototype player mold, right? Yeah. That's what JC Jackson was. Steph Gilmore was, all those guys. He just has, his background is in zone. It's not in man. I don't think they can fully shift to like the Buffalo style defense. I think there needs to be some sort of bridging the gap between their philosophy and the more modern scheme. Martin Emerson is like perfectly in the halfway point of those two philosophies. So that's what I love him for the Patriots. I just think, I don't know that most teams should take him in the second round. Like as a general, I think I'd give him a third round grade, but I think the Patriots are the kind of team, like he's going to, I talked about this a lot. I was going to be more into this during the draft. Nature versus nurture, right?
Yeah.
Martin Emerson, I think the Patriots would be one of the best landing spots for Martin Emerson. I think the Patriots could get more out of Martin Emerson than maybe some other teams in the draft.
Yeah, so he's not here to cover Tyreek Hill and to cover Stephon Diggs, right? If you're playing Buffalo and you want to put Martin Emerson in man coverage, you're putting him on Gabriel Davis, right? Like that's the matchup. If you're playing Miami, then you're probably playing zone anyways. Like that's the biggest thing with Miami. And I've talked to some people about this on Twitter too and stuff like that. Like, is your plan to try to play man coverage against the Dolphins now? Because good luck. Like you're going to find two corners that run 4-2. Like you have one in Jonathan Jones. I guess you could draft a guy like Trent McDuffie in the first round and be able to keep up. But
well, no, we took Martin Jones. Houston,
Marcus Jones.
Yeah, we took Marcus Jones last week, but no, he's not big enough, and that's a problem then. Like,
yeah, like I just don't know what. I don't know why. What's the game plan against the Dolphins in man coverage? Like you're not. No matter what you do, you're not going to be able to stick with those guys in man coverage. What you're hoping for, if you play man, I suppose, is that Tua just can't throw the ball far enough to get the football to them down the field. Like that would be the hope, I suppose. But
well, then you better play him before Teddy Bridgewater takes over.
Right. I think Martin Emerson's a good one. I think he's getting slept on. All right, Brian Asamoah, athletic linebacker. Everybody wants the speed at linebacker. We got speed at linebacker.
There you go. Yep, that's the linebacker y'all been asking for. That's the guy.
Yeah,
he's the value Nakobe Dean in this draft.
Yes, right. Or even like I would say maybe value Christian Harris, right? Nakobe Dean Christian Harris is like value Nakobe Dean. Brian Asamoah is value Christian Harris. So that's good there. Brian Robinson, we already talked about Gadecki a lot. Brian Robinson, Alex, you're all over this one.
Yeah, Brian, 3 down back, really 4 down guy. He can cover kicks too, but 3 down back. He's going to run the ball between the tackles. He's going to catch the ball. He's going to pass block. We know they like Bama. We know they like the Bama backs. We don't know that they have a pass catching back week 1. James White's back, but he just got out of bed 3 months ago. We don't know what his physical condition is. I'd love to see him on the field. I don't know if that's realistic. JJ Taylor's not that guy. If he was, I think we would know by now.
Yeah.
And maybe they can get a UDFA. Maybe somebody comes in late in free agency, but Brian Robinson can be a pass catching back right now. And then if they don't sign Damian Harris, he can kind of split that role. I think Robinson and Ramondre Stevenson, regardless of what happens with Harris, you put those two guys in the backfield, you can do a ton. you can do a ton with those two guys. And they're not going to pass Robinson at 127. We know they met with James Cook.
Yeah.
Robinson's a very similar player. He makes a lot. He's on their radar. I would be shocked if he's not one of the 80-something guys on the draft board.
So I'm not sure how much they actually care about the predictability of their offense, but the one aspect that I like about Brian Robinson that you've mentioned is that he can run the football between the tackles and catch passes. And they are so predictable sometimes with the way that they use their running backs, so that when Damon Harris is in the game, it's like 65% run, right? Or it's play action. Right. It's one or the other. It's run or it's under center play action. When James White comes in the game, that's when they spread it out a little bit more and they throw the football. Or last year it was Brandon Bolden. So getting a guy in there like Rex Burkhead, but maybe obviously better with higher upside like a Brian Robinson or a James Cook, that really feels like it would be nice to have some of that unpredictability and be a little bit more 50-50 in terms of what you're doing with the running backs on the field. It's a big tell for them. If you have Damon Harris in the game, you're under center, you're power I, you're running the football, or you're play action. When you have James White, you're spreading it out and you're throwing the football. They got to be a little bit more unpredictable, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. And I, by the way, what you just said, I think also applies to Ramondre Stevenson. So then you have two of those guys, you can really, again, you can get weird with it, like in a good way. So I'll let you, Velus Jones is your guy. I'll let you grab that one.
Yeah, I love Velus Jones. I think that he's somebody that you look at that Gunnar Olszewski, what they kind of were hoping he was going to be someday and never really took to it. I think Velus Jones can be that kind of guy. He's not going to be your number one, most likely, but he's someone that can carry the football on offense, end around, jet sweeps, screen passes, verticals down the field with good speed, 4.33, 4.31, somewhere around there in the 40-yard dash. Elite college football kick and punt returner, one of the best returners in the entire nation. So he's somebody that when you watch him run with the football, it's not just speed. He's got great contact balance. He shakes off tacklers. He bobs and weaves through contact really, really well. I like Velus Jones a ton as that gadget, versatile player. Again, it's not your number one wide receiver, but at this point in the draft, that's a contributor. That's somebody that's going to play a lot. I like that about this pick.
Yeah. Vidarian Lowe, potential starting tackle, can play both sides of the line, comes from Brett Bielema's program. High character guy, leader, team captain, took big strides in 2021. He's going to kind of sit for a year, develop. And then I think he's somebody that potentially, if he has a good year behind the scenes, could be in the conversation to take over for Isaiah Wynn next year. I think if he played his entire collegiate career, and look, the Illinois program was a mess for a few years there. So there's weird stuff going on with the players coming out in terms of the career progression. If Vidarian Lowe played his entire college career like he played in 2021, he's probably a day 2 pick, early day 3 at the latest. So I think what you're, if you're the Patriots, you're a very close relationship with his college coach and Brett Bielema. I think there's reason to believe that the player he was in 2021 is the player he really is. You confirm that with Bielema. He's in the, he's heading in the right direction. He can pick up new systems quickly because new coach in 2021, he picked it right up. He played great. I think that could be an absolute steal. We talk about the 6th round, and I said this before, you're kind of throwing darts, and it is what it is. But look at what they got Mccollum and Wenu in the 6th round. Like, I think Vidarian Lowe could be in that ballpark.
So also I believe 2-time team captain at Illinois under Brett
At least
Bielema.
one. I don't know about 2. He was at least once.
Yeah,
and that was under Bielema. And that's what matters.
Yeah, so that's a really good one too. You got a guy that was a team captain under a former assistant coach on the Patriots. I'm sure he's going to be on the radar.
Yep.
EJ Perry.
Yeah, EJ Perry, like sneaky big dual threat quarterback. He was the Ivy League player of the year, offensive player of the year last year. BC transfers from Andover. They could probably get him as a UDFA, but we've seen them do this in the past. They did with Danny Etling, right? Nobody's going to draft Danny Etling. Danny Etling was horrible in college, but they took him super late because they liked him on the scout team. EJ Perry, obviously Brown, smart guy. He's going to be able to emulate some of that Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes stuff, with his athleticism.
4.65. He went in the 40-yard dash.
Yeah, ran a 6'5", high character guys. There's a video of him picking up trash after the combine, like the Ed Reed video about picking up the towels. So
yeah,
I don't know that he ever plays it down for them in the NFL, and you don't always love that when you're making a draft pick, but I think he's somebody who could ultimately make the team better. It's in a bit of a roundabout way, but just because we don't see the work being put in doesn't mean the player's not putting in the work, doesn't mean the player's not contributing. It's a behind-the-scenes pick, but we know enough. We know by now well enough how much they value those kind of guys. So whether it's EJ Perry, I could see Jordan Stout there, a punter, something like that. But yeah, EJ Perry, they're going to draft him. The casual fans aren't going to understand it. They're going to bitch about it. It makes a ton of sense. And it's especially at 153. I think that was like the 8th to last pick. That's a pretty good pick. Yeah. 253. Yeah. What did I say? 853, 253.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing with EJ Perry too, and I know this is nothing to do with his football ability necessarily. I just think that Robert Kraft in particular would love having an Ivy League guy on the team. Like, it just is something that kind of brain and the intelligence that it brings to it, especially for a backup quarterback, somebody that's going to be really in there just for the mental side of it, more or less, like Brian Hoyer. I can't remember who it was, but they had somebody else that was an Ivy League guy. They always loved to point out that he was an Ivy Leaguer. I don't.
Who was that?
Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up. Keep going.
Yeah, it was. So I don't know. It's just a little thing. It's obviously nothing to do with football, but I just think it's interesting. So yeah, there you have it. That's
Brandon Copeland. Oh, that's right, Brandon Copeland.
Yeah, Brandon Copeland was like a really smart dude. Yeah, he
was he Penn, I think.
Yeah, where did James Devlin go to school? That's what's like.
Oh, James Devlin. That's who it was. He went to Brown.
Yeah,
same school.
I don't know
how we missed that.
I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to be very wrong. James Devlin. Yes, I remember. They talked about how smart James Devlin was and that he was an Ivy League kid so many times. Like, it was like knocking us over the head with it. Like, oh, did you guys know that James Devlin went to Brown? Like, yeah, I know. I got it. It's like Ryan Fitzpatrick in Harvard, right? So, yeah, that's how I kind of feel like they would view EJ Perry as well.
And same school, Brown. There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
Do we want it? So, 2 common complaints we got.
Yes.
In the chat that I want to address.
Okay.
First off,
yes.
Why didn't we take a shutdown corner? You can't just snap your fingers and draft a shutdown corner. There's like 7 guys in the league that are true shutdown corners. There's 2 guys in the draft that have year 1 shutdown corner upside. They're both well off the board. Sauce Gardner, Derek Stingley. Could we have taken Booth or Elam at 21? Yeah.
We took Booth by the way.
What?
We took Booth last week in the first round.
Yeah, and we took Elam a couple weeks ago. The difference in upside between Booth and Elam and Emerson is marginal. The reason those guys are first-round picks, Emerson is second, is floor, not ceiling. So we weren't going to get the year 1 guy anyway. And now with Booth, there's concerns. He's had injuries. He just had surgery.
Yeah.
If you're not going to get the year 1 guy anyway, Martin Emerson has the same upside, perhaps higher than those 2.
Yeah.
The other question was, why didn't we take a receiver early? They don't need to. I'm not totally convinced they need to. I just don't know where that guy's going to play. And the reality is, people were talking about Christian Watson. People were talking about Romeo Doubs. If you take a receiver, if they take a receiver early in this draft, it needs to be a slot guy. Because right now, and we all love Jacoby Myers. Jacoby's the 3rd best receiver in the 3 receiver set. And more importantly, he's on an expiring contract. Right?
Yeah.
Devontae Parker's back next year. He's under contract through 2023. Kendrick Bourne's under contract through 2023. Jacoby's not. Nelson Aguilar's not. So you either need to take a true burner, not an X, just a burner, because I don't think Aguilar's an X. I think he's a speed slot. You either need to take a true burner like we did in Jones or a slot guy. If you're going to go for the big X receiver, you do that very late as a developmental player. You do it next year.
Yeah, I think Velus Jones might be a little bit of both. Like, I think he can play. I think he will play slot for them, along with off the line, scheme
he's
touches
not,
and things like that.
The point is, he's not like an X. He's not.
No, but I think that Velus Jones could develop into their starting slot receiver. I really do. I think it maybe takes some technical refinement, but you get him with his punt return and with his kick return background, like him and Troy Brown would love it to chop it up together, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like those 2 guys are so similar from where they started in their careers. So I think a guy like Velus Jones definitely could play slot for them down the road. Like I think that's exactly what you would want out of a slot guy. A quick twitch, explosive inside player, good long speed, good with the ball in his hands. Definitely got Patriots slot potential.
Right.
We didn't have to take him on day 2. Yeah.
We've talked about Mac playing with that vertical slot guy at Alabama. Like he can be that vertical slot guy. One more addendum on the wide receiver thing. That's unless Chris Olave or Jameson Williams are on the board at 21. I mean, you take those guys. They're so tremendously talented. But like that's the real wish list. I don't think Stingley's getting to 21. The guys who have an outside shot of getting there, Jordan Davis, Jameson Williams, Chris Olave. Any of those three guys are there, you pick them, you don't think twice.
Yeah, so I think
we were lucky enough. Williams and Olave went. Davis was there. We were lucky enough.
The only wide receiver that I am really all in on day 2 at this point is John Mechie. I love Alec Pierce too from Cincinnati. I think that would be a great pick also, but he's a true X, and then you have to kind of start talking about what you're doing with Devontae Parker on the roster, right? If you got a guy like Pierce behind him and that type of stuff. To me, I think that the one guy that I could really get behind on day 2 is Mechie, just because of the play style, the Mac Jones obviously chemistry there and stuff like that. That one I can get with. Other than that, I mean, I mentioned Danny Gray earlier from SMU, Velus Jones, Bo Melton.
Out on Skye Moore.
Skye Moore I love too, but I just don't know how are they going to get Skye Moore. Like he's going to go
trade down.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to go early 30s in my opinion.
He's exactly the kind of guy that they need to add.
Yeah, I love Skye Moore. I think that I would love to draft Skye Moore, but I just don't know where Skye Moore. How are they going to get Skye Moore without taking him with their first pick? That's the thing. Like if they trade down from 21 and they get Skye Moore at like 33, 34, whatever, they trade with the Lions and they get 34 from Detroit. They take Skye Moore.
They could also move up. Like if he falls a little bit, they could move up like they did with Barmore.
I suppose. I don't know. I don't think he's fallen much. I just don't. I think at the end of the first round, you have Green Bay, you have Kansas City. Those teams are taking wide receivers. So you're going to start to see some of these wide receivers go. If they can find a way to finagle it, if they can get their hands on Skye Moore, then I'm all for it. I don't know if they'll have the optics of being able to do that. I also don't know if they would want to take a wide receiver with their top pick in the draft, right? That's the difference. I in the chat, Calvin Austin, no thank you. He's like 5'8". Like I just good athlete, obviously, but like I think Velus Jones is everything that Calvin Austin is, but he's much bigger than Calvin Austin. So I don't know. I like Christian Watson. I've always liked Christian Watson. Like I said, I like Alec Pierce. I don't know. It seems to me like they would probably prefer to go someplace like Velus Jones than maybe some of those other guys, unless it's Mechie.
Right.
All right. That about does it. I think we've answered all that we can answer. We've gone through the draft. I like this draft. I think this is the best one we've done yet. We are going to have a Tuesday show next week where we're going to do a draft Q&A. We're going to do some your mock drafts. If you want to send us your mock drafts on Twitter, we'll kind of tease this as we get into next week. Yes.
Send it to the page. Do not send them to us. You can send me your mock draft. I appreciate everybody sends me their mock drafts. I don't respond because if I respond to one, I have to respond to all of them. I don't have that kind of time. Send them to the Patriots CLNS account.
Sure.
I don't know if it has open DMs, actually. I don't know, but
I think it does. I'll double check. Send it to the Patriots CLNS account. We'll tease this again on Monday and Tuesday. We're going to grade your mock drafts. Alex and I get inundated by mock drafts. We see all of them. We don't always have the time to respond to all of them. But now's your chance to get us to respond on air about your mock draft and if you did well or not.
Please don't have open DMs, so you're going to need it.
Please don't send us ones with wild trades, though. Like, I don't want to see, like, 6 players in exchange for 5 players and picks and all that. Like, just send us ones that are somewhat realistic, okay? Thank you. Then on Thursday, we're going to do first-round mock on next Thursday? Is that the plan?
I thought that was Tuesday.
Okay.
No, we're going to do a regular mock next Thursday. First round mock on Tuesday, and then the day of the draft, we'll do our last mock.
Yeah, so we're going to at some point also do a first round 1 through 32. That's the plan, not just the Patriots mock draft, but how we think the first round itself is going to go in whole. That'll be a lot of fun. We'll be able to talk about some of the scenarios, obviously, in terms of the Patriots as well. So be on the lookout for those 2 things. We'll tease the mock draft, grade your mock draft segment next week as well. And we'll have a good time with it. 2 weeks from tonight, we're going to be sitting here and we're going to be about a couple hours away from the start of the first round. So we're getting there, people. But this is fun, and we'll continue to do these, and we'll continue to hammer home all the draft coverage. So until then, signing off for Alex Barth, I'm Evan Lazar. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next week.